Yo, so guys, welcome back to another video, and this is another random reaction. I don't know if this is going to be a main channel video or a second channel one. Like, the video seems too short to do as a second channel as a main channel reaction, but the sort of the context could be something that a lot of people want to watch still. So I'm still indecisive whether I'm going to post this on the main or second channel. But the video is "Why Did Russia Sell Alaska to America?" Short animated documentary by History Matters. The channel has been suggested a few times in the past, and I've always been wanting to get round to it. I just struggle because there's so many suggestions that people give me, but I am I don't know, this one is just something that I don't know much about at all, but it is interesting to me that Alaska was once owned by Russia and they decided to sell it to the US, and I don't know, it's just a weird one that I'm going to obviously find out through this video. But yeah, it's a bit different for the reactions. I don't know if this is something that a lot of people are going to watch, but we're going to see anyway. Hopefully you're going to enjoy. Quick shout out to my second channel and my Instagram and Twitter, links in the description for those who want to follow that. But let's get into this, man. It's a short reaction, but let's just see what the reasons behind this were.
In late 1867, Alaska was transferred from the ownership and dominion of the Russian Empire to the United States of America. It was sold for the princely sum of $7.2 million, and for most it's just a footnote in history. A question that should be asked is, why did Russia decide to sell its overseas colony? Furthermore, why did it sell it to the United States and why not, say, Britain or some other colonial power? So the primary reason for the sale of Alaska was Russia's defeat in the Crimean War. The war had done several things. The first was that it had largely bankrupted Russia, which was struggling to repay the debts it had racked up in order to fight the war. The second was that the victories of the Royal Navy over the modernising Russian Navy had made it clear that Russia had a long way to go before it could challenge Britain at sea. As such, it was realised by the Russian leadership that should another war break out, there was little to stop Britain from simply conquering the territory via Canada. So what type of territory was Alaska? For a start, it wasn't called Alaska at the time, but simply Russian America. And for the Russian
Wait, so it was called Russian America? Wait, what?
Empire, it provided several things. First of all was the prestige that came with owning an overseas territory. As for its economic benefits, Alaska was a much more mixed bag, which combined with the cost to protect it, you can see why the sale was seen as necessary. Incidentally, the sale of Russian America was broached by Emperor Alexander II's brother, the Grand Duke Constantine, who wanted to strengthen and liberalise the empire in the wake of the defeat in the Crimean War. It didn't take much to convince the emperor to agree to the sale, but now the question was, to whom? Well, Britain was an obvious contender, given that its North American lands were already attached to Russian America, and they already had the right to navigate its waters and trade with the colony. So why didn't they sell to Britain? Well, Russia and Britain were imperial rivals, and to give Britain a large coastline so close to Russia was potentially dangerous. Also, Britain...
Little did they know the US, a few years later, would become the true rival.
wasn't interested, since Canada is
funny
already
sort of
huge and Britain had enough access to the Pacific Ocean. Thus, the United States of America was really the only likely candidate for the purchase. Russia had approached the US in the early 1860s concerning the purchase, but they were undergoing this little-known event called the American Civil War, and so were a bit busy. After the war was settled and the US had to deal with the issues of reconstruction, the purchase of Alaska was seen as a useful distraction. The Russian Empire was also keen to keep up the ongoing good relations with the Americans, because as an ally they would be useful.
They were friends back then.
It was agreed in March 1867 between the governments of the US and Russia that Alaska would be bought, but how did they come up with the price? Well, Russia had sent a team of surveyors to look for things like natural resources and to see how good life in Alaska was. And it was determined that Alaska was worth about $10 million. However, the surveyors argued that Alaska shouldn't be sold at all and that the governance of it simply be reformed. The emperor ignored this and both sides negotiated until the sum of $7.2 million was agreed. In October 1867 it was transferred to America, and Russia's attention would thereafter be focused to the south and to the west. I hope you enjoyed this episode and thank you for watching, with extra thanks to my patrons that you see on screen.
Shout out to this guy, man. It's a bit of a different reaction. It's a very short video, so this probably will have to be a second channel reaction, but yeah, man, that's a very interesting sort of reasoning behind why that happened. And I don't know, these sort of mini sort of stories just intrigue me a lot, especially this one, because I have seen this sort of pop up a few times and I've always sort of wanted to react to it. And yeah, it's crazy how it was called Russian America, or Russian America, which is just a crazy name. But I guess back then they were actually like not, they were allies, like unlike a few decades later. But yeah, man, it's crazy how things change, right? They didn't look at the US as a threat back then. Suddenly, a few years later, the US is the biggest threat to Russia. That's funny, man. It's crazy to think at one point Russia was part of Europe, Asia, and North America. Yeah, that's wild. That's actually crazy. Alaska, we're your biggest state in the US. Texas, you adopted. Native Americans be like, you guys are getting paid. Russia sells Alaska because Fort was a lump of snow. USA finds oil. Literally, they must regret that so much. Imagine what the Soviet Union could have done if it had Alaska during the Cold War. You could buy Alaska for the price of a flat in Manhattan. I'm guessing flats in Manhattan are a lot. Obviously not that much, but a lot. For your information, 7.2 million in 1867 is worth 127 million today. Jeez. I mean, they could have got a lot more than that. Plus the oil, that would be worth trillions now, wouldn't it? USA finds oil in finds oil in Alaska. This has been the worst trade deal in the history of trade deals maybe ever. I think they told Alaska to buy more vodka. Edit, okay, 10 months later I still fall like... Imagine the USA sent the porn stars. What is going on in these comments, man? But fun little reaction, and it is crazy how they sold it for so cheap, and now with there being so much oil in Alaska, Russia must be regretting it so much. But the US, on the other hand, must be loving life, because I mean, god damn, that is a crazy sort of trade that they've made there. But it's interesting how things happened during the world, and this is like 150 years ago now, so it was obviously a very long time ago, but still, I do find this stuff very just fun to react to. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Also, is there like a strong Russian is it like a I don't know how to say it, Russian, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, is there a lot of Russian Americans that live in Alaska? Because obviously when it was traded initially, I assume there was a lot of Russians who lived there. So maybe over time, there's just a lot of Russian Americans who live there. I don't know, I'm probably rambling at this point. But I'd be intrigued in knowing that. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this reaction. Maybe I can do more from this channel. I don't know if all their videos are this short, but if they are, maybe I can do a few in one kind of thing. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. And until next time, like, subscribe. Peace.